today what I'm going to cover is for DDL as well as database event and the 11G functionality that is called compound trigger. Okay. I guess I've also missed two slides, so I will just explain from the previous chapter. That is like how to test the trigger. So while you are having any trigger, maybe at the database level, compound trigger, or any DML level trigger, so how to test them? Oracle has given some scenario, maybe you can come up with your own while we are, for example, if you have given a DML for insert on employee table for each row. So what you can do, you can insert multiple records in the employee table and see whether trigger is firing or not for the each row. You can make it for the statement level and then see it should fire only once. It should not fire every time for you. Okay, so what Oracle is saying, test each trigger data operation as well as non-triggering data operation. Fine. So for example, as I said, you have written a trigger for insert, so it should fire that for each insert, but try to see the negative scenario. It should not fire for the update as well as delete. Okay, so this is what they are saying. Test each clause of the when. If I have written any condition, when employee ID equal to 100, then only this trigger event should fire. So try to check 100, 1000, 10, 101. So like that, some negative scenario you need to cover. Cause the trigger to fire directly from a basic data operation as well as indirectly from a procedure. Okay, so what I explained, you can write a logic on the PLSQL block, or else you can call a procedure using the call command. So anything you can do here. You can write a simple logic. When this is coming, just do this event. This is a simple PLSQL block. So that's what they are saying, cause the trigger to fire directly from a basic block. In the same logic, you can write a procedure. So it's kind of through procedure it will fire. Okay, you need to write a call this procedure name. So procedure will fire. Test the effect of the trigger on the other trigger. Test the effect of other trigger on the trigger. Okay, looks this line is. So what happens? You can create multiple triggers. One for insert on employee, one for update on employee, and see, for the insert only one trigger should fire, not both. For the update only one trigger should fire, right? And in the update also, in the update also you try to insert something, I mean in some other table. You no need to write update on the employee table. You can try insert some department table. So a trigger should not fire. Or if you have written an insert trigger on the department table, so that trigger should not fire when you are trying to insert a record in the employee table. Please try to understand, there are two tables, one employee table, one department table. You have written insert trigger on both the table, one trigger for employee, one for department. So they should not dependent on each other. While you are inserting the record into the employee table, so it should fire independently, and when you are trying to insert into department, that should fire independently. Okay. Viewing trigger information. So
can you repeat it again if you don't mind?
Sure. So I have written two trigger, one for employee, one for department. So insert on employee, insert on department. So these two trigger will fire independently. When you are trying to insert into the employee table, this particular trigger will fire. When you are trying to insert into department, this trigger should fire. It's not like that while you are trying to insert into the employee, so department trigger will fire. It will never have, it will never do like that. So that's what they are trying to see, saying here. Check the, sorry, test the effect of the trigger on the other trigger. You can make it dependency, referential integrity, maybe employee department. So as soon as you are inserting into the employee table, at the same time the record will go into the department table. So both the trigger will fire. How it will look like, I will tell you. Insert into employees, values, and here something called, for example, employee ID, name, and DPT ID. Now you have insert employee ID 1000, employee name XYG, and department number is 100. Suppose employee number 100, department number 100 is not there in the DPT table. So you want to insert into the department table. So what you would say? Insert will fail. It will throw some error when others. Then I need to catch a exact error which was raised for insert, so I don't remember, so I'm just wrote when others. Insert into department, values 100, comma D name, department number ABC. Fine, so you will come to end here, and here you have begin, for example, and you have written trigger 1, trigger 1, trigger 2. See, so what I'm trying to say here, you are writing insert into employees. Some value you are going to insert into the employee table. So trigger 1 will fire here at the statement table. Fine, but it is not insert any row. It will throw an error because department number 100 is not there. So row level trigger will not fire. Fine. Now what happens? You are casting them into the exception section. How are exception? When others, I am assuming whatever the error is coming, so I am catching that error here. I forgot which is the number, so I'm just write when others. Insert into department table. Okay, so I'm trying to insert into the department table. So what will happen? Here statement level trigger, trigger 2 will fire. Fine. Then again a row level trigger will fire for the 2. Fine. Again, since your object to insert into the employee table, so again I am inserting into the employee table. So what happens? We have already inserted the department number 100 here. Now I will try to insert department number, employee ID 1000, which belongs to department 100. So again this trigger 1 statement level will fire. Why it will fire? Because we have written trigger 1 for the insert of the employee, and then again row level trigger will fire for the employee. So you got the point what I'm trying to say here. But again, while this trigger 2 is firing, trigger 1 will never fire on the department table. Why? Because they are both independent, but for testing purpose we need to check them. Okay, we can make a test case. We can make a unit test case saying both triggers are independent. We can show them like this. While you are trying to insert into the department, only trigger 2 will fire, not trigger 1. Okay? Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to know if two tables are connected, like with primary keys and foreign keys. Then what will happen?
So that's what I said in the single PLSQL block, right? So this trigger will happen while insert on employee table.
Right.
The whole PLSQL.
Because employee table may be independent, but department table has employee ID as a foreign key or primary key, whatever.
Yeah. So that's what I written here.
So then, okay.
This PLSQL block we will write while inserting into the employee table. So while inserting into the employee, we are checking our foreign key into the department table is exist or not. Right? So referential integrity we are trying to make here through triggers. Okay? So it's clarified, or you need some more clarification on it?
No, I'm fine on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So next they are saying view trigger information. So where all you can see the trigger information, you can see there is a data dictionary called user underscore objects. So you can see the object level information. I mean, what the trigger name and which schema it belongs to, when it's created, etc. User underscore all underscore db underscore trigger. So it will display the trigger level information. I've never seen this user, but yeah, I use for others, so that's fine. And underscore user underscore errors, so you can see if PLSQL syntax error is there. So these are the 3 data dictionary. You can make use of it. Okay. You can describe the trigger. So it will give the trigger name. User trigger what? User trigger is this. They are describing this particular what we call data dictionary. So what are the information is there in this? Trigger name, trigger type, and trigger event, table owner, etc. So what is the value for the before row level, etc. So in user underscore triggers you will get all the information. Only thing you need to give the trigger name. So here we give the example. Select trigger type, trigger body from user underscore trigger, where trigger name equal to secure EMP. So on the EMP, secure EMP is the trigger name. So they are trying to access the information from the user underscore trigger. Right?
So that secure trigger name, what is secure MP?
Yes, that's correct.
That is already before. No, it's already written the trigger.
Yes. So yeah, that's correct. So maybe somewhere in the example they must have used. So I'm just showing you now.
No.
Yeah, it's a trigger name. So I'm not sure where they have written, but they must have.
If I'm using like secure underscore EMPs as a trigger, so I don't need to write down a trigger programming for that, or I just use it?
No. It's like your name. See, create and replace trigger secure EMP. So they have created this trigger earlier into database, and now they are trying to fetch its information.
Okay, I know.
Okay.
No, you have shown me a total list of triggers, right?
Yeah.
The last one.
No,
Yes.
this is not the trigger name. This is a table. User underscore trigger is the table. So it's the column from that table.
Okay.
It's the data
Okay.
dictionary. Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
So creating database triggers that are invoked by the DML. Okay, so we have already covered the trigger which are invoked by the DML. Then creating the statement and the row level trigger types. Use database trigger firing rules. Which one will fire first? Which one will fire later? How to enable, disable? How to test the trigger, etc. Now I'm going to cover DDL and DDL level trigger, compound trigger, and event database. Fine. So first I will explain the concept of the compound trigger. What is the compound trigger actually? So as of now you have seen on the DML we are writing multiple triggers. For example, for insert, update, delete, for statement, and for delete. For statement level, for row level. So it's kind of same functionality. If you want to perform in a one PLSQL block, you cannot do. You need to write multiple triggers. How? I'm creating a trigger to insert on the order table. Fine. When for each row. So whenever I'm trying to insert into the order, some trigger will fire. This is the trigger which will fire. Okay. But is there any way I can combine all this trigger type into one? Yes. Compound trigger is the solution for it, and it came from 11G onwards. So what they are trying to say here, what is the compound trigger? A single trigger on a table that allow you to specify action for each of the following 4 timing point. Before the firing statement, before each row that the firing statement affect, after each row that the firing statement affect, after the firing statement. So what are the timing? Before a statement, before row, after a statement. Right? So these are 4-5 timing. So at a time you can cover only one. Either you can write a statement level, either you can write a row level earlier. But in the compound trigger, Oracle is providing the functionality you can write all the timing at a time in a single trigger. So that is called compound trigger. Its name is showing compound trigger. The compound trigger body support a common PLSQL state that the code for each timing point can access. I will show you through the example. The compound trigger common state is established when the trigger statement start. Okay. So when it invokes the compound trigger, for example, you have written on insert. So as soon as it sees the insert statement, this compound trigger will be invoked, and as soon as insert is complete, it will destroy. So destroy when the trigger statement completed. So as soon as the trigger body executed, your operation on your event is completed, trigger body will destroy. Destroy in the sense it will not be active for user. Okay. A compound trigger has a declare section and a section for each of its timing point. So while I was teaching you something in the exception section, for insert, for deleting, raise this error, while inserting, raise the. In the same way, they have given some timing section for the compound trigger. Here it is. It is a simple thing. Create or replace trigger name for which DML on which table, and you need to write the compound trigger. Fine. So this is the declarative section for compound trigger. You can declare any program or procedure or variable, etc. So one variable can be used across all the timing point. So here they're saying before statement is, you can end. This is a, I mean, this light blue color is a 1 PLSQL block. After that, after statement is a 1 PLSQL block. Before each row is a 1 PLSQL block. So you're combining all four together. Okay.